And welcome everybody to our meteorology segment. Today we'll be talking about various things, climate, a little bit about smoke. So what you're looking at here is the carbon monoxide map, surface concentration of carbon monoxide from nullschool.net. And check it out, we've got over 8,000 parts per billion, which is, by the way, not enough to asphyxiate, if you're wondering. We'll show you a chart in a minute. So lots of carbon monoxide there. And that is worse than it was yesterday. So you can see all these fires in BC as well. A lot more fires in BC. And when we zoom out, you can see quite a lot of fires on planet Earth right now. South America burning pretty well as well. And if you want to look at this yourself on nullschool.net, just go to the chem and pick carbon monoxide surface concentration. Normally we only use it to look at the jet streams and the surface winds. We've decided to include fires since it's been popular in the news. So I'm not going to talk about how historic the fires are or aren't. However, here are the jet streams. And one of the reasons you're getting such hot weather in the Pacific Northwest is because of this stagnation here. The jet stream is staying north of the U.S. largely. And it's causing this cyclic low pressure here behind this anticyclone and that anticyclone. Anyway, you're getting flow from the south. And speaking of flow, look at the extreme meridional jet stream flow here. Going nearly due south, going nearly due north over here. A little more coherent in the southern hemisphere and blowing backwards around the equator over both the western Atlantic and the eastern Pacific. Let's check the other side of the planet. We're going to ignore surface winds entirely today because we've got some additional material. We don't want the meteorology segment to be too long. Australia's got a ton of fires on the east coast as well. And look at the extreme meridional jet stream flow down here, putting some very, very cold air into the Middle East. So here's the carbon monoxide fact sheet that we brought up for you here. And these are parts per million. What we were looking at on the first graphic was parts per billion. So that's only 1/1000th. So nobody's anywhere near things like any kind of danger from that carbon monoxide, although air quality is indeed diminished in those areas, obviously. We've got some hurricane warnings down here around the Florida Gulf Coast. Tropical storm warnings, I believe. We'll show you a total accumulated precip forecast in a minute. We've also got some flash flood watches there in southern New Mexico. Severe thunderstorm watches and warnings there in southern Arizona. And excessive heat warnings continue in the Pacific North. Almost the entire state of Washington. Pretty balmy in Washington and a lot of Oregon as well. Like half the state. Anyway, if you see your county lit up, just click on your county at weather.gov. Here's your total accumulated precipitation forecast from Tropical Tidbits. And you can see most of the rain from this tropical storm is expected to fall in the Gulf. That's the forecast through Wednesday, August 18th. So that's a bit of a far out forecast there. This could change and it could equate to massive rains in Florida if that track shifts. And as that gets a little closer, we'll do some more in-depth forecasting on that, looking at things like the atmospheric physics of it. And we've decided to zoom out here and show a little bit more data on our NASA GOES Lightning Mapper. And just give that a minute to load. We are streaming live. And thanks again for leaving a comment in our last live stream. John Kotowski, Life Force Rejuvenation. Cheers. And there's the NASA GOES lightning mapper. Continuing on, here's a real-time lightning map. Since we are streaming live, lightningmaps.org. If you hear thunder, perhaps check it out. It could save your bacon. We've got some terrestrial lightning here around the Chesapeake, on the Delmarva Peninsula, as well as north of Charleston. And oh, I see more terrestrial lightning here. Shout out to Brian Wasek of Tucson, Arizona. Hey, Phoenix, you've got some thunder rolling in to your southwest. All right. Anyway, again, that's lightningmaps.org. And let's take a look at climate for a quick moment. Everybody's very concerned that the planet's melting. You're living in an ice age right now. An ice age is defined as a planet with two poles, which don't melt in the summertime, which is what planet Earth is. If you're wondering how hot the planet is, the Minoan warm period was warmer. The Roman warm period was warmer. The Viking warm period was warmer. The medieval warm period was warmer. But apparently it's the hottest ever right now. Let's take a look at ice extent. And you can see the ice extent here is a little bit below the average, but it's still much higher than it was at this time of year in 2012 and 2020. More ice in the Arctic than last year at the time. If you want to look at this data yourself, just head to Global Cryosphere Watch. This is in the Graphics Sea and Freshwater Ice section. Let's take a look at Greenland. Oh, look at over 2 feet of new snow have just fallen in Greenland. Oh my God, it must be melting. Now that we've seen 5 winters in a row with historic amounts of snowfall in the Northern Hemisphere, which, by the way, is a positive feedback mechanism raising the Earth's albedo. Let's take a look at snow depth. Actually, let's head back here for a minute and take a look at albedo. So you'll find a graph here for surface albedo, and check it out. The albedo of the planet is actually higher for the northern portion than the average. So it's still within the 1 standard deviation range, but guess what? Snow is what causes the Earth to go into a full glaciation mode. Because once the albedo gets high enough, folks, the planet keeps getting snowier and icier year in and year out for thousands of years. So here is Greenland, and it doesn't look very melted to me. Let us know what you think in the comments. It looks pretty snowy. There's 185.2 inches there. Let's go to the southernmost tip, shall we? Southernmost tip of Greenland is, oh, look, it's completely snow-free, 0 inches. However, out here in the ocean, there's 181 inches on top of sea ice, despite the proximity to the Gulf Stream, which, if you're wondering, comes up like this to the east of Iceland. Anyway, Greenland showing us like 5 meters of snow from coast to coast. Once again, we've showed it last summer, and I think the summer before. I'm not even sure. I can't really remember. I try not to memorize irrelevant details, and let me check the life of the stream before I get into things like radar. And everything looks A-OK. So here's the radar, and we've got rain stretching all the way from northern New York all the way down to southwestern Arizona here. Fairly stagnant systems here, not a lot of motion. And the closer you get to Phoenix, the less motion you get. So here's what's going on in the water vapor map. And this is the tropical system that we were talking about earlier, by the way, if you want to keep an eye on that. And here's what's going on in the cloud layer. It's the 3.9 nanometer radiation map. Yeah, water emits radiation, folks. That's why you don't want to use your radio telescope on a foggy night. Anyway, here's your recap. There's the U.S. Doppler radar. Here's the water vapor. There's the cloud layer. And we'll close out the video on the water vapor. Thanks again for tuning in, folks. Remember to attempt to understand the atmospheric physics if you don't. One of our endeavors of the channel is so that you can forecast your own weather. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. smAsho, signing off from the Smash News Network. Least busted, naming news.